Here on the DeskTime channel, we talk a lot about hacking your productivity, attention, work-life balance, and other work-related things. But how about hacking how you use DeskTime? Here are 15 shortcuts to become a DeskTime power user. 1. The difference between log out and quit. You know that little circle on your desktop, the one that fills up as your day goes by, the one you use to click on Show DeskTime or to start a project or turn on private time? Well, there are two options at the bottom, log out and quit. Both of them fully turn off DeskTime on your desktop, but it turns out that there's a specific distinction. Log out means that the next time you open DeskTime on your desktop, you'll have to enter your email and password all over again. However, quit means that you fully turn off DeskTime, but the next time you turn it on, it will remember your account and automatically log you back in. 2. The filling circle that represents productive time. So, you know that filling circle that Macs have on the desktop? Sorry, Windows peeps, this one isn't for you. It doesn't have that feature. I used to think that it represented time spent at the computer. Turns out it's more specific than that. It represents productive time spent at the computer during work hours. And the circle represents the amount of minimal hours set. Neat, eh? 3. How to avoid the barcode effect from virtual meetings. One thing I've noticed since moving to a remote work environment is that during virtual calls, when I'm not constantly touching the computer, I end up with a sort of barcode effect on my DeskTime productivity bar with tiny little slivers of inactive and idle time. It's not that I wasn't working, it's just that the nature of the work didn't require active computer activity. Well, turns out that there's a solution, and that is to integrate your calendar with DeskTime. So the call that was scheduled in your calendar will then fill in all of those little empty slivers of time, and voila, your barcode is automatically filled in. Alternately, you can fill in one of the empty sections and drag the little circle to represent the full amount of time you spent on that call. To use the dragging method, go to your DeskTime account, click on one of the blank spaces during your video call, drag the green sliders to cover the time frame of the call, set optional productivity categories, and then click Save. 4. Enable the private time reminder to remember to turn it off. The private time feature is awesome to get some personal stuff done. We encourage using it and other DeskTime privacy features at our company because it's perfectly human to have to get some private matters under control while you're at work. But it's annoying when you turn on private time and then go back to work and it turns out you haven't turned private time off, so a ton of your time isn't accurately tracked. Fortunately, you can turn on private time reminders that give you a nudge in case you've forgotten. This has saved me countless times. To find it, click Private Time Reminder in the drop-down menu of the desktop app. For Macs, it's at the top right of your screen. For Windows, it's at the bottom right. 5. Use the window title tracking option to calculate project times. This tip is for those people who work on specific projects in either a word processor or a design app like Word, Google Docs, Illustrator, Photoshop, etc. By turning on window title tracking, you can then hover your mouse over that app to see how much time has been spent on a specific document. And that name of that document is then listed along with the time spent on it. This can then serve as an accurate projection of how long it took to complete a task, which can be helpful for reporting, for freelancers, agencies, and even for your own time management. You can also switch to your weekly view to see which documents have taken the most of your time. 6. Add additional contact info under Notes. The DeskTime Colleagues section serves as a kind of digital phone book for all of your colleagues. Not only can you easily find their emails and phone numbers, but in the Notes section, you can also add additional contact info like your Skype handle, Slack name, office number, extension, whatever you want. 7. Use the monthly view to see your overall productivity. By default, DeskTime shows you your productivity stats one day at a time. But you also have the option to choose a weekly or monthly view. By choosing the monthly view, you get a full overview of your main productivity stats in a monthly calendar format. You can also use this view to quickly jump to a specific date, rather than having to scroll through one day at a time. So this overview helps notice any trends, such as if you've been staying too late at the office, or if you've been consistently not meeting your daily work hour target. 8. The difference between productivity and effectiveness. Productivity and effectiveness are two different metrics that are calculated on DeskTime. Often, people don't know the difference. So, for once and for all, the difference is that productivity refers to your computer use, while effectiveness refers to how much you get done during work hours. Productivity refers to the amount of time you've spent at the computer that has been productive, aka how much computer time you spend using productive applications. Whereas effectiveness is tied to your minimum work hours, how much time you spend during defined work hours that has been using productive applications. If you work more than your minimum hours, then your effectiveness can be more than 100%. So, if I wanted to embody the work smarter, not harder principle, I would be looking at effectiveness, how much productive time I can squeeze into my set work hours. So these next tips are going to be for admins who manage accounts with multiple employees. Set tracking starts and tracking ends time 1 to 2 hours before official office hours. Say your team works a typical 9 to 5 schedule. When you're setting up your account, you would think that you would set your tracking starts time for 9 o'clock and your tracking ends time for 5 o'clock, right? There's a better way. Here's why. Very rarely do people arrive at their computers at 9 o'clock on the dot, and very rarely do they leave at 5 o'clock. Some people get a head start, while others occasionally stay longer to finish up a project. To accommodate for employees that might want or need flexibility, set your tracking starts and tracking ends a few hours before and after your workday ends. That way, you make sure that no hardworking employees go unnoticed. Set default hourly rate for easy project-based bookkeeping. You can set an hourly rate for all employees across your organization so that when you export a project report, the value of the time spent on the projects is automatically calculated. This is particularly helpful for agencies that bill by the hour. So if you have multiple employees who work on client X projects, then you'll see the total amount of time spent on client X, as well as how much they owe based on that hourly rate that you've set. Then go to Exports to create an export for a monthly overview of projects and their costs. Blur auto screenshots for balanced privacy. Though automatic screenshots isn't every manager's cup of tea, believe it or not, there's a lot of demand for this feature. But to balance it out, there's an opportunity to blur the contents of the screenshots in order to protect the details, but to get the bigger picture. To enable it, go to your DeskTime account, Settings, Account, Screenshots, Blur Screen Capture. Download screenshots. For those organizations that use screenshots, it might be interesting to know that they can also be individually downloaded and saved for future reference. To download screenshots, go to your DeskTime account, Screenshots, click on the specific screenshot, and then click the download icon at the bottom of the pop-up. Set custom workday hours. For example, shorter Fridays. If you have an organization-wide custom workday length, such as half-day Fridays during the summer, then you can add those into your account section to ensure that those expectations are reflected and employees aren't penalized for working less than the typical 8 hours. You can select which days have which times and build a customizable work schedule for your entire business. Save work schedule templates for faster shift scheduling. If you have several set shifts like morning shifts or shifts for specific days of the week, you can build those shifts and turn them into a template. That way, the next time you assign an employee to a shift, you don't have to manually build it every time. Simply create your shift template, give it a name, set which days it repeats, and save. Make all new apps productive by default. As all of us DeskTime users know, each website and app used is categorized in DeskTime as productive, unproductive, or neutral, and each team can specify their own productivity category. But defining each new app's productivity category can be time-consuming and tedious, especially for teams that regularly conduct research and, as a result, tend to visit many new web pages throughout their research. To avoid having to go through each app and set its productivity category individually, you can batch assign a productivity category to all new incoming apps. To turn this feature on, go to your DeskTime account, go to Settings, Account, tracking default application productivity. And those are our 15 power user tips and tricks. How many did you know? Be honest and comment below. So see you next time.